Hello, welcome to Dragon Studio once more. If you didn't see my completely bonkers and a very excited me live a little while ago, I'm about to give you a walkthrough and a first viewing of my brand new book, How to Live with Dragons. So this is published by Watkins Publishing, and this is my experiences and wisdom, and well, not my wisdom, but the wisdom that's given to me by the dragons and what they've taught me over the last 20 years of working with them. So everything in here I've either been guided by the dragons or they've given me direct channelings and messages. So do you want to see inside? Let's have a look. So, a little bit of info about me. It has 13 chapters. So there's obviously contents page, and there's 13 chapters, and it's split into two parts. So the first part is living with dragons or live with dragons, and part 2 is spiritual warriors of earth. So that tends to be the more advanced dragon work, if you like. So we have the preamble, so how I came to work with dragons and some of the lessons I've had over the years. And sort of why dragons? I've asked that question many, many times. Why dragons? And what else is then? Then there's a bit about sort of the dragon clans, because obviously if you have my deck, the Dragon Path Oracle, you'll know there's 4 clans within the deck. But there are actually more than 4 clans. So we'd be talking here about the healing dragons, dragons of the land, then the high vibrational dragons. And there's things to consider. Also, I put in here, dragons wanted me to put this in. Things to consider before you embark upon your dragon journey. So there's a few tips and tools and things maybe like to think about, or action before you actually start working with the dragons yourself. And these little boxes, when I was writing this, obviously I was writing it on a computer. I was going through copious amounts of journals. I don't know how many journals I've got. And I spent days and days going through my journals with like little post-it note type things and just sticking them in the relevant pieces of my journals with little notes on them so I could refer to it later, and highlighters and marking things up and particular sentences or sections or whatever. It was months of work. And this is sort of some of what came out of those journals. So it's called Dragons Talk. And I love the way that the Watkins and the team at Watkins have designed this, because there's just literally, thousands of words. And I thought, God, how are people going to be able to decipher, just taking out sort of my chat and my chit chat and talking about the dragons into maybe a call to action or instructions or dragon wisdom or whatever. They've done such a fantastic job of this, and this is sort of one of the things is the Dragon Talk, little boxes with a dragon at the top. So that's called Dragons Talk. This is part 1, and so each chapter's got a picture of one of the dragons, or in this case magic manifestation from my Dragon Path Oracle. And this is Live with Dragons, and I started it with So Your Dragon Journey Begins. So in part 1, I endeavour to give you the grounding tools required to connect with your personal dragons. This will empower you to activate your dragon journey and build a friendship that will last beyond this lifetime. Here I discuss energy, colour, protection, and receiving a chakra and energetic upgrade from the dragons, among other topics. Dragons will take you on a journey to the Great Temple of Atlantis and more. It's quite an adventure. And all of this gives me goosebumps. All of this stuff is what they've taught me, and where they've guided me to other people, and other people have come into my life, I've shared that as well, because you can't do this journey completely on your own. But what I would like to say is that ultimately everything within this book, the dragons have guided me and taught me. I haven't learnt my dragon stuff that I share with you from other people. It's literally given to me by the dragons through channeling, downloads, meditation, however because they work in a variety of ways. Everything within this book, the dragons have guided me to or taught me directly. So I haven't had a dragon teacher or guru. So just to be sort of very clear on that. So chapter 1 is preparing for dragons. And yeah, because they came into me a bit of a gallop. So I go on to say how I came to come by dragons, and my bumpy ride in those first initial years. So we've got connecting with dragons, and through all the way through the book there are lots of exercises. So this one is head heart meditation. Now, if you've worked with me on any of my lives or any of my videos, you've got us downloads recorded. You'll be familiar with a head heart meditation. And this the dragons gave to me in 2001. No, wrong decade. 2021. This is when we were I was preparing for the Dragons of Light workshop. So they gave it to me sort of late 2020, early 2021. And this is what I use now beginning with all my meditations, and it is used all the way through the book. So get yourself familiar with this particular head heart meditation if you don't already know it. What else have we got in here? So introduction to your personal energy meditation. This was given to me by a friend of mine a few years ago. We were working together, and I'd actually had a mini stroke, and I was really out of step with my meditation and everything else. And I was trying to get back into it, and so she actually showed me how to connect with my own personal energy and how that looked. So I'll talk about that in here. And it's quite interesting how it was when we first started doing this exercise to how it changed. Anyway, she also taught me about the extended chakras. And this is because I needed to be more deeply grounded, and you need to be deeply grounded with dragon work. So this is one particular exercise you can use. So there's lots and lots of exercises in here. So we've got a deep earth meditation. So all the way through. So this is sort of chapter 1. Then I'll go into protection, closing, visualization, various techniques you can use, energy cleansing. So it's got cleansing, visualization, and all of these are highlighted. So they've got like in like grey boxes, so you can see the difference between the two. So this is how we do it. So the first bit is for those of you that are well and truly on your path. It's maybe a refresher. For those of you that are new to this work, it gives you good grounding tools. And we have dragon tips at the end of each chapter. So some are just maybe a couple of lines, some of what we've got in here. We've got 4 different dragon tips in here. So there's, they vary throughout the book. Then we have, let me get into your dragons as guides and teachers. Oh, and guardians. So that's chapter 2. And so there's meditation. So there's a bit about communicating with the dragons, how I came to do it. Meet your dragon guardian. So you get the picture. So basically it is absolutely, it's comprehensive. It's the book I really wish I had when I started this journey. I honestly, I just wish I had a point of reference when I started my dragon journey, because I talk about muddle my way through it and get myself in a bit of a pickle from time to time. Then we talk about things like the Akashic Records or the Library of Life, or the Library of Learning, to know how you view it. Dragon guides are in here. What else is in here that you ought to know? So the meditation for meeting your guide. Then we've got the dragons as healers. Now, if you're familiar with my deck, you'll know about the dragons that are healers. So you've got Aesculapius, we have Avery Matriarch, and we also have the healer. So there are actually meditations in here. So if you have my deck, you can use this book with my deck, build a deeper connection with some of the dragons. I haven't gone through every single dragon from the deck. Obviously I've included Avery Matriarch, the healer, and Aesculapius. There are other dragons that are referred to as well within the book. But the book you don't have to have the deck to work with the book. It's entirely up to you. If you haven't got the deck, Oracle isn't your thing, absolutely fine. It's not a problem. You don't need the deck to use this book or to have this book. And the other way is that you haven't got to read the book cover to cover. if there's particular bits that you want to know about, you can just read that section. If you want the whole journey, then do it cover to cover. And there are exercises all the way through that guide you along your dragon journey, but you haven't got to. So if you've done my April Matriarch workshop and you want a refresher, where is she? It's in here. So we talk about the work with the April Matriarch and healing the ancestral lines. That meditation is in here. Who else is in here that we've got? Then a meditation with the healer. Then we go to dragons and the chakras. Now the dragons are giving us an energy upgrade. So here we talk about the chakras, the new chakra colours coming in. So there's some, and they actually made me work for about a week with this, because really in a really big way. So that was cool. And then we have the dragons of the chakras. So there are dragons that are connected to chakras, and if you've done my workshop on that, this information is within here as well. If you want a refresher, or just a reminder or whatever, or to do it for the first time, that a section of that workshop in here, obviously, because that's a full day workshop, so I can't get all of it in here, but the salient points are in here for you. Dragons and colour. Now you'll know that the dragons are really big on sound, colour, and sacred geometry. So there's a big section in here on colours, a whole chapter on dragons and colour. And I get so many messages from people. I've got this dual coloured dragon. I've got this dragon that's this colour and that colour. It's, what does the colours mean? So I had to address that. And thankfully, my friend Andrea Webb, who does colour and crystals, was my go-to. Like, what do I need to know about colour? Because, I know what colours mean to me, and certain colours. But it's not an extensive knowledge of colour, and so I got a whistle stop tour of colour and lesson from Andrea on sort of the accepted. But you may also find your own way with that. So there's that in here. So that's chapter. What was that? What chapter was that? That was chapter 5. Then conversations with dragons. That's how so much of my work is done. That's chapter 6. And then again, there's tips and a call to actions, really, and ideas for you to work with. And then these are some of my conversations. So these are directly from my journals, so they're not edited anyway. This is literally my conversations with the dragons at different points over the last 20 years. So that's quite, and looking back on it, it's like, oh my word, really? That's quite interesting. Then there's a whole section on the Grandmasters as well. So we have Merlin and Uriel and others. Platinum is in here, and there's a walking meditation in here. What else have we got? A bit more about the new chakra colours. There's also an energy upgrade from Platinum Dragon. So I could go on forever. I could go on for absolutely ever. So then Dragons of Atlantis is in here as well. A bit more dragon talk and dragon tips. And then we get into, do we get to part 2? Where are we? Then part 2, where we have Actimus as the dragon of part 2. And this is the spiritual warriors of Earth. And this really is a call to action from the dragons. You'll have heard me say it, I'm sure, many times before. If you want to see change, this is from the dragons, you need to be the change. You can't expect somebody else to do it for you. And this is the straight talking of the dragons. And this is our call to action. If we want a planet, we want a different life to one we've already got, we want to change our patterns, our habits, all that kind of stuff, we have to take responsibility for it. And this is really what part 2 is about. It's about being the spiritual warriors of Earth and being the change we wish to see in the world. But also it's working with frequency, because we're going from vibration to frequency. It's about working with the star beings, with the dragons, with skulls. I sort of touch on the skulls. If anybody, you'll have heard a lot in the spiritual field about coding and upgrades and all this kind of thing. And coding comes in at certain times, and like Lionsgate, we get coding in, and 1111 we get coding in. I touch on this in here. But this is about you being able to do the work for humanity and the planet. This is what this whole part 2 is all about. So we have Dragons of the Land. And that's actually quite complicated, because there's a couple of aspects to Dragons of the Land. So we've got the Guardians of the Land and Sacred Sites, and we've got the Earth Dragons, and they sort of clump together as Dragons of the Land, as a clan, if you like. So you've got, then I've talked about the Avebury Dragons, the Dragon of the Tor, of which there's actually 2, but I only talk about one of them. Dragon at St Catherine's Hill, and the Dragons of Stonehenge. Now these are sites that are close to me that I visit. There are other dragons in other parts of the world that I haven't physically been able to get to. Then there's a meditation with Dragons of the Land. And then there's connecting with them. The dragons love chanting. So there's a section on dragons and sound and dragons and chanting. So there's some chants in here for you to try and find your own as well. And a friend of mine's going to do me a dragon chant. How exciting! Moon phases. If you follow me on Dragon HQ, you know we're always on about the moon here. The dragons like the moon. And so there's a whole section on working with the moon and dragons, and how we can use the moon for our benefit. What else have we got in here? Manifestation. We've got a bit in here working with, so again from my deck, there's working with magic and manifestation and tying that in with the moon. Who else is in here? Walking the Wheel of the Year. Again, you'll know if you follow me that I'm always talking about the various equinoxes and Sabbats and things throughout the year. So we're coming up to Lammas fairly shortly, which is the 1st of August. Yeah. So here we go. There's a whole section of Walking the Wheel of the Year with the dragons. So we have in here, so the dates of the Wheel of the Year, and then a little picture. They've done a fabulous picture of the different Sabbats, what they are through the year. What else can I tell you about? Working with the elemental dragons. There's a section on the elemental dragons. I don't work extensively with them, but they wanted to be included. So it was like, okay, what do you want me to say? So there was that. Again, if you've worked with me in person, an awful lot of people in the UK have, is the dragon fire ceremony that I do. That's in here, so you can recreate it for yourself. They wanted it included, and I've been running the fire ceremonies with a dragon now for probably about 6 or 7 years, and that's in here. I've done this one at Yule, but you can do it whenever you want to do it. So that's seasons. Magdalene. Again, you'll know that I work with Magdalene and the dragons, the Sapphire Ray dragons. So she's in here. So that's chapter 11. And so there's lots. We talk about Lionsgate. There's a meditation to work with Magdalene, invoking the Sapphire Rays. Then we come into the Galactic Dragons. There's a whole section of Galactic Dragons. And then there is, Luna, again from my deck. So if you like Luna, want to work with Luna, then she's in here. So there's a section we work with Luna. A bit more dragon talk. A galactic meditation. Then I'll talk about the Dragons of Light. Now, if you've been with me on any of my workshops, you'll know that I talk about the Dragons of Light and the Ray Dragons. And the Dragons of Light are a collective name for the Ray Dragons, which is Sapphire Ray and Golden Ray, and then there's the Emerald Ray coming in at the moment. So there's about 6 or 7 rays, which is another story completely. I don't think I put all of that in here. Working with the Golden Helix is in here. Golden Helix for the planet. Now this is where this work gets really important, and this is the working with the Golden Helix for the planet for upgrades and healing. So it's vast. It really is vast. And then the last chapter is chapter 13, which is the light body in the Merkaba. And we talk about what do I talk about? Golden Helix light body, Golden Helix visualization, working with intention, and activating and working with your Merkaba. Oh no, then we've got chapter 14, I lie. Then we've got the very last bit is chapter 14, the matrix and the light grids, because you've got to do your Merkaba work to do the matrix and the light grids. And that's the big planetary healing work. That's our real call to action. and where everything that you're doing through the journey through the book is to bring us to this point. And that's the healing work we're to do for humanity and the planet. And that's working with the matrix and the light grids. So a bit of dragon talk about that. Obviously, I was channeling and asking them, right, what's this all about? And there's obviously that section there on what I was trying to what I was trying to fathom. And there's the matrix healing meditation. And then we talk about dragons of the land, come back into here. And then finally, I'm sure you'll be very pleased to know on my closing thoughts on the book. So there it is. It's out in October. It's published in, I think it's released on 13th of October 2022. And it'll be released in the UK, Europe, the US and Canada. I'm not sure when it'll hit Australia, because I'm sure it'll go out to Australia and other countries as well. But we normally do the UK, US and Europe and Canada first. Then it normally a few weeks later, it goes into other countries. So it's published by Watkins. It's retails at $12.99. It's available on Amazon for pre-order. So if you pre-order it, you will get it the day it's released. If you're very, very lucky, it shouldn't happen, but if you're very, very lucky, you might get it a couple of days before it's due for release on general sale. So UK is $12.99, the US is $16.99, and Canada is $18.99. That's dollars, obviously. Yeah, so there it is. 20 years of my life in one book. And I hope you get as much from it as I got from writing it, because it was a journey and it took a few stabs at doing it. And a lot of years of throwing my toys out and go, oh, I can't do this, and then parking it and coming back to it and so on, as any, piece of work quite often can take a long time. And partly it was because I didn't have all the information, so I had to wait until now to come out. I needed to have, there's information that I didn't have, when I first started, that I needed to include. So I hope you enjoy it and you find it a useful tool, because it is about tools. It's a tool for healing, it's a tool for growth, it's a tool for self-reflection and for understanding you and the world you're in and we're in, and how you can improve upon that for yourself and for others, and be the best version of you. It will poke you and prod you, I'm sure, as it poked and prodded me to actually get it written. But I'd love to, when you get it, I'd love to hear your thoughts and yeah, just let me know how you get on with it. Right, that's it from me. Big love from all of us here at Dragon HQ, and I'll see you again soon. Cheerio for now.